New Orleans Online, WWOZ.org. Just finishing that set up, a whole set of Swamp Dogg for you there with something from his latest record called Black Grass from West Virginia to 125th Street, and we heard a couple of them off of there. We heard that Rise Up that featured Vernon Reid from In Living Color on there, and we heard Mess Under That Dresser, and then we heard a couple of them. Goes back to, I believe, 2020 or so, a record he released called Memories. We heard a couple of duets that he did with John Prine, and we heard Memories, and for some reason the other one not on my list. And then prior to that, we opened it up with the first album he did in 1970 under his new persona, Swamp Dogg, and we listened to Synthetic World and These Are My People. That record was called Total Destruction to Your Mind. And I am honored and happy to bring to you live here on the airwaves right now, back here, because he had never been in this building, but he's been a guest on the studio here before. Swamp Dogg, the legend himself, man.
I'm happy to be here.
We're happy to have you.
More ways than one.
I bet. You it was a little slower ride getting here today, but you made it, and we got a few minutes. So Swamp Dogg, before we get into a little bit about you or a lot about you, you're playing tonight at Chikiwawa,
right?
And I believe it's an 8 o'clock show, 9 o'clock, 8 doors.
I think it's 8:30.
In that neck of the woods, y'all can check it out. So if you're looking for something to do, this man is a living legend. I think you're 82 years old.
That's it.
The show this morning, the Bluegrass show, had Peter Rowan on. I'm familiar with Peter Rowan, I'm sure. He's also 82 years old. He performed at Chikiwawa last night.
Don't get it.
And so it's the 82-year-old club this weekend up there. But, all right. So let's talk a little bit about Swamp Dogg and Jerry Williams. You started out, I played some earlier stuff that I didn't call back from, let me see here what it was. Oh gosh, I don't have it there. A couple of like soul R&B things you did in the 50s.
He did, yeah, 60s mostly. But
was it the 60s?
Yeah, well, no, we did a little. I did my first record in 1955, I think it was. Hard City Troublesome Down Out Blues. Well, I was 12 years old, whatever.
Oh, okay.
That was.
Yeah, we played I'm the Lover Man. Where's that go?
That was 1964.
Okay.
That record was a hit, and it was on Southern Sound Records out of New York, and it started getting big, so Warner Brothers came in and bought the master and everything from Southern Sound, and then they sent me out on the road, and after this, I had written the song, by the way, for Frankie Valli, and they sent me on the road to perform, and after I'd gone to about 3 or 4 places, we didn't go out on the road anymore, mainly because the promoters thought I was white. And when I got there,
it was a tough
you know, like, you ain't white. I knew that, before I left home. So, anyway, they would pay me and tell me, "Oh, you ain't got to do another set." And that was, the last place I was in Hartford, Connecticut, at whatever the big place was. It was the first gig that Chuck Berry was doing right out of prison. What part of Connecticut? I don't remember, but it was in Hartford. Yeah, it was in Hartford, Connecticut. But it was whatever their biggest venue was at that time. Yeah. So, yeah, that's the story on that.
And that's like 64, you said?
1964.
Okay. Yeah. Time. And at that point, your influences, I read, were country music, is what you listened to as a kid on the radio with your parents and at home and stuff. That's what was there for you.
Right.
And that's obvious in your delivery and such. But at some point, you took on the Swamp Dogg persona. Was that because of some things that happened, like what you just talked about? or was it because you wanted to express yourself differently and such?
The latter. I needed to express myself in a way that I could be satisfied. Um, Jerry Williams and Little Jerry Williams was going to be destined to be an opener. That's all. As Jerry Williams, I wasn't going to ever be no kind of star, and I wasn't going to like stick out among any of the other people out there like Jackie Wilson, Chuck Jackson, Tommy Hunt, Freddie Scott. You know, all these guys were killers, and they also was considered, you know, handsome and stuff. And hey, I knew better. I seen myself in the mirror. I ain't gonna try to carry this all the way because it's not gonna go all the way. And so I did. Let me see. I came out with "Baby You My Everything," which was big record on Calla. That was in '65. And then I had another record. Each year, I think I've been with more record labels than anybody. I mean, I changed labels also because when I started out, I was underage, and you had to be 21 to sign a contract. And for some reason, I was getting away with it. I was with 4 record companies at one time. And to get my little $100 bonus and all that. And then all of a sudden, they hit them at a company called Aldo. Where I had a thing called Chapel on the Hill. I'll always remember the Chapel on the Hill. And they had another artist who was had driver's license and everything, to carry me back down to Virginia, Fulton, Virginia, and have my mother sign the contract because I wasn't 21 then either, you know. and so that's, I don't know, it kind of run out on me. But I was with a bunch of labels. V-Tone, I had a thing called Let's Do the Wobble Before Chubby Gets It. And that was a big hit in Philadelphia, you know. Cut It in Philadelphia label, V-Tone Records. Had Bobby Peterson. Yeah. So anyway.
Now, you take on this persona in the 1970s as and you kind of, from what I listened to the music, the earlier stuff was more soul, kind of R&B.
Right.
But then the country influence really shows up in that Total Destruction to Your Mind.
Right.
But also very political, very charged album there. In listening to the songs, of which I listened to it a couple times this week, they're kind of timeless in where we're living today as well. Did you see that when you were writing that stuff? Did you hope it would all be over, or did you know it was going to be a long battle?
No, I didn't know how long the battle was going to be, but I didn't know it was going to take all this time. But I was influenced a hell of a lot by my wife at that time. She was actually more political than I was. I was writing from her ideas that she kept running past me. And that's how we got hooked up with Jane Fonda and Peter Boyle, and all of them went out on the Free the Army thing, which was actually F the Army.
Right.
But I was actually angry when I found out more about what my wife was telling me about, and started writing things about it and collaborating also with a couple of real good friends and writers, Gary U.S. Barnes and Troy Davis. They had some wild ideas also. And that's how we got into Synthetic World. Remember I said tomorrow, tomorrow you're going to have freedom of speech. Just be careful of what you say.
Right.
You know? And then, Nixon, he got a little pissed at me. And then all of a sudden, the FBI is showing up at my house and everywhere.
Really?
Yeah. He turned my phone off. It sure did.
This is like within the year that the record came out, or?
But let me see, where were we then? That was around the time I did Sam Stone.
Okay.
And I had a big old billboard on Sunset Strip with a picture of me and some big red lips. And it said, if you don't like my album, pucker up as I'm backing up, And that didn't go over too big either. As a matter of fact,
Oh, well.
Chris Blackwell, I could be on Island Records right now because I was like one of his favorite artists. And he didn't care what I spent, how I spent it, but he asked me personally, he said, Swamp, don't do that. And being the same sign and all, I knew exactly what went through his mind after he found out I did that. So he actually stopped speaking to me and everything, and all of the carte blanche that I had at Island Records, all of it went out the window. And I understood it, though. I understood it. So I signed with, I can't think of their names, over in England. Anyway. Sorry. You think gets a little rusty when you're around.
You're doing pretty good for your age, bro. I give you mad props on that. So I read somewhere that the Swamp Dogg persona somehow came to you in an LSD trip. Is that something? Do you know anything about that?
Yeah, I was living in Miami from. Well, I went to Miami, number one, in 1965 because I had the number one record there. In 2 weeks, I was working at a car wash, but not literally, but almost. And you quickly become a local. You move into where you're big. But wait a minute now, I done forgot what I'm.
LSD trip.
Yeah, right.
Swamp Dogg.
Trip, yeah. So I had some friends, quote unquote, who slipped some LSD in a punch, and this was supposed to be having a party for me, but it wasn't my birthday, it wasn't Christmas, it wasn't nothing, But hey, a bunch of people getting around, smoking chiba, and doing things, and they thought it was funny, and they put LSD in my punch. And you ever had an LSD?
Oh yeah, many times.
Okay, so it can actually make you look, say, at this window frame and count the strokes, the paint strokes. You can see them individually, you know how many they are. And it also threw me into I started having panic attacks. I was afraid to get on plane. All of the great stuff that happens when you take LSD happened to me, and I didn't take it for long, about a year, which is a long time, I guess, to drop a tab a week. But that influenced my writing. Also, I wrote a thing called "I Kissed Your Face," and buildings blaze in a mist, drunken days, as I float by something on the leaf of a flower, just all kinds of stuff. And people liked it though. They I guess they were on LSD too. And I didn't start out wanting to be on LSD, but after getting a dose, and I got kind of over it, I liked what it did.
You-
It made me aware, I thought.
Yeah, you appreciated the benefits of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You know, it's an interesting drug, and it is certainly useful and has been for many people. Not the answer to all, but.
But it still hits me. You know, nobody really did any research like they usually do on pills and so forth. And so, well, you know, this is gonna stay in your body for 20 years or 5 months or whatever, like that. It's still, I still have what I think are effects from what I did. And yeah, get scared and all kinds of things like that from things you shouldn't be.
I want to say you're tuned to WWOZ 90.7 FM, New Orleans. It's 4:04. I'm running a little past. Elizabeth's in the house with sitting in. She can be coming up a couple minutes. She's giving me a couple minutes here to chat with Mr. Swamp Dogg, and since it all happened a little bit late, and I appreciate that. Now, one other question. I also read somewhere that you were influenced in some degree by Frank Zappa. Or his style of satire, or
Put his thumb, pull out his thumb, put in his thumb. Yeah, I love Frank Zappa. I've got the full set of everything he recorded on everything he released. And I just like the fact I love his voice. I love the way he arranged his music, which he didn't try to. He didn't march with anybody else's drummer. You know, he was his own. He was his own drummer.
Absolutely.
He marched to his own tune. And yeah, I never got a chance to meet him, but I loved it, and I still do. I still play some of his music.
Interesting. Now, you also had a relationship recently, I don't know how far it goes back, with John Prine.
Yeah, when I met John, I was head of the black music. I was the first in-house black A&R at Atlantic Records. And they made me the first, because they had, first of all, the Fair Play Committee, CORE, NAACP, one of them, not NAACP, but CORE, they had beat up Jerry Wexler down in Miami. I was there. And because they were getting all of these black hits, you know, everybody. And they didn't have any black people on staff other than secretaries and so forth. But it wasn't completely true what they did to him because he was signing all these black acts, and they were cutting in Macon, Georgia, and Muscle Shoals, Alabama. You know, but there was nobody in the main office. So I discovered later, whoever walked in at the time I walked in, if they had to come in at that time, they would have been the first, because they just needed a black face to put out front, you know, and they had me in Billboard, Cashbox, Record World, you know, like, hey, we got one, you know. And for the first few weeks, my office was the lobby. You know, I had to meet, they didn't have any facility for me. Tom Dowd finally gave me his office because he was gone all the time. He was a great guy. I don't know if he's still alive or not. Should be. But that was, let me see. Where am I?
New Orleans.
No, I ain't.
You were,
What's your question?
Jerry, John Prine is where we're at.
Right, John. So, that happens every now and then. You guys will grow to it.
I got it already, I know.
John Pratt and his manager, they were signed to Atlantic. When I got there, they gave me a list of about 20, 25 artists. They said, look, if any artist that you're interested in, circle. Any artist you don't want to deal with, draw a line through it. Okay, and the ones you want to keep, we will give them a 6-month extension on their contract. So if the next record don't hit, they fodder. So I kept Patti LaBelle, the Commodores, which lead singer
Lionel Richie.
Lionel Richie, he was playing the saxophone, and I got him to sing for the very first time.
Huh.
The Drifters, I give you an idea. I mean, everybody that they dropped went on for success, and I did. Yeah, I know y'all tired of me saying but anyway, that's the way
the way it works.
Yeah, that's the way it works when you continue to work. John Bryan, hey, I remember this. See, I can get it but anyway. John Brown and his manager Al Bonetta, they came into my office and they had their record, and John Brown was on the list of the people they were going to drop. And we formed kind of a kinship almost right away. And I played this song that he did, Sam Stone. Now we're talking 1968. And I loved it. I said, this is great. And he had some other ideas working on. Yeah, okay. But I knew it wasn't anything at that time that I could do. But I still circled his name as to keep it. And because right away I knew he was a fantastic writer, and that's what I love is great writers. And they ended up dropping him because they didn't have the success that they wanted to have and needed to have. But John and I, can't say we stayed in touch, but we ran into each other every 5 or 6 years or something like that. And when I signed with Cream Records, and I did the song Sam Stone. I don't know if I know Johnny Cash did it, and a couple other people did it, but mine outdid the others as far as sales and so forth. And he and I just became friends. We didn't go fishing together or nothing like that, but we became friends. We remained friends, and I didn't know he was as sick as he was when I started really having. We were getting ready to go to Ireland, to his home there, and write songs and so forth for a couple of weeks and come on back. And
that's what would be the Memories record, or those?
Well,
that era?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. But it never happened. It never happened for one reason or the other. But I loved him. I always thought he was great, especially as a writer.
He's a wordsmith.
Oh yeah, he could do it. And therefore I couldn't walk away from Sam Stone. I had to do that. And that's still, like, I closed with that last night. And people were crying and hugging me and all kinds of things. It just, I don't know, I miss him.
Yeah.
I miss him a lot but because of him, I was invited to the Grand Ole Opry to perform. There's a difference in campaigning to get somebody on, but being on because you are invited.
That's respect.
Yeah, and I got a feeling that it won't be long before I'll have a chance to become a part of the Opry.
That's awesome.
I like it. I like it.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and they just made me feel like one of the greatest artists in the world. You know, the way they greet you and had a special parking space with a plaque and everything. No parking. This is for Swamp Dogg. Oh man, I cried.
I've attended the Opry a few times. It's as an audience member, it's a magical place. I can only imagine for you on the other end what it's like, but it's a treat the way the production and everything that they do. So the last couple of records you did, the most recent one, Black Grass, we played something. One before that was more of a country record.
Yeah.
Weren't those both on a Prime related label?
No. Wait a minute. I had one on the label out of Minnesota. Trying to think of called name of his company. I can't. But it's like 3 albums that's out that's considered current, along with my very first album, which is still outselling anything else I've done. Yeah, but the bootleggers have had a good time. Yeah, they promoted it for me. They sold it, they stole it, and sold it. But like I've always said, if the bootleggers take your stuff, you know you got something. Because they do not deal in things they can break open and all that.
Exactly. They deal with the goods.
That's right.
Swamp Dogg, man, thank you. Look, we went 15 minutes into the next show host. I want to give her time and all that. Elizabeth, thank you kindly.
Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it.
If y'all want to hear Mr. Swamp Dogg, see him, and experience him in his full reign, Chicky Wawa tonight around 8 o'clock will be the place to be.
Yes.
And what little bit of everything you played in these sets, or the whole, or mostly the new record, or?
Now I'm playing. One of the things I opened with is Synthetic World, which is my very first album.
Got to play that. We played that earlier.
Yeah. I also do Total Destruction to Your Mind. I do I Was Born Blue.
All the good ones.
Yeah, I got about 13 songs in my set.
Cool. All right, Swamp Dogg, thank you so much for coming in. We got Miss Elizabeth in the house.
Mr. Rivers, I'm happy to be here.
And for some reason, her song is not queued up, of course. Why would that be? But
because we haven't released it yet. That's God, why would I do that?
That's all right.
Name.